So welcome to this webinar on our master's program, Clinical Child and Adolescent Psychology. Welcome to all the viewers from all around the world. It's so nice to have this opportunity to tell you all about our program. Well, let me start with introducing the crew for today. So my name is Esmee Verhulp. I'm an assistant professor at the Department of Developmental Psychology, and I'm the coordinator of this master's program. And I'm involved in several of the courses, and I also supervise thesis and internship students. Next to me is Fotis, and Fotis is one of our current master students. And I'm really happy that he's here today. He will tell you about the master's program from a student's perspective. So maybe you would like to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Fotis. I come from Greece. I studied psychology in the University of Athens, and now I'm here. So I'm here to give you a perspective on how an international student is going through this master's.
Thank you. And last but not least, we have Marije Groothuis. She's on the chat today. Marije is our internship coordinator, and she will try to answer all of your questions. She is there to help you, and please use that opportunity as well. So another thing that I wanted to explain to you, if you have technical issues, you can ease down because this webinar will be recorded, so you can watch it afterwards. And if you are still able to reach the chat, you can just post your question on your issue in the chat, of course. And another thing that I wanted to mention is that we also have a Q&A at the end. So we will answer the most frequently asked questions at the end of this webinar. So I think that we can start now. Okay. So the focus of our program is on how children and adolescents develop, how and why do in some cases emotional and behavioral disorders emerge, how can these problems be treated and prevented, how can you use your scientific knowledge to advise mental health care institutions, but also schools, for example. And in our master's program, Clinical Child and Adolescent Psychology, you will learn to apply your scientific knowledge of developmental psychology to clinical practice. So here you see some characteristics of our program. So I said already that the focus is on applying scientific knowledge to clinical practice. And that is also why the courses in our program are offered parallel to the internship or the thesis. So there can be a transfer of ideas, knowledge, and insights from the courses to the internship or thesis and the other way around. Some other characteristics of our program are that you can choose your own focus area. So within our program, we have room for an elective course. So all students have to pick an elective course, and you can choose a course that fits your specific interests. So I will tell more about the different options later on in this webinar. And then we have an international orientation. So it's not just that our program is offered in English, but we also really hope to broaden your horizon by focusing on the international context as well. So for example, a few weeks ago, we had a symposium on ethics, and then we also really went into, well, what are differences between countries in the ethical guidelines that are available for psychologists. And then a final thing, for Dutch-speaking students, we have the option to obtain your certificate psychodiagnostics, so the BPD. So Fotis, maybe you can tell us something about why you chose to apply to our master's program.
Yes. So I was looking for a program that would be specifically regarding adolescents and children in general. In the Netherlands have a very good reputation in Greece, at least as far as I know, for their psychology studies they provide. And after going through many of the different programs available in the Netherlands, I found out the schedule of the current program is very practice oriented, which is something that was very important for me, as all of the knowledge is tied to its application. So basically, that's why.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. Yes. Yes. So another thing that is maybe important to mention is something about the language policy, because we are an international program, but on the other hand, we are also quite flexible with regard to our language policy. So of course, English is our main language, so all the course materials, the literature, and the lectures are in English. And also the small group sessions are mostly in English, but sometimes we have them in Dutch as well, because then the content of those small group sessions is really on practical skills. For example, within a course, cognitive behavioral therapy, there are Dutch groups and international groups, and in the Dutch groups, people can speak Dutch and just practice their skills really in Dutch. So that's, I think, important to keep in mind. Another thing is that also with regard to the written assignments and exams, they can be done in Dutch or in English. And also the thesis, for example, can be written in Dutch. And for some courses, I even say, well, it's important to practice some of the skills in Dutch, because you just have to become ready for the Dutch labor market if you are just going to stay in the Netherlands and you're a Dutch student. Yeah. Okay, so here's an overview of our program. We have a 1 year full-time master program, and in Utrecht, each academic year is divided into 2 semesters, and within each semester you have 2 periods. So we have 4 periods in total, and in the first 2 periods, students have their core courses. And then in the second period, you also have an elective course. And then spread out over the entire year, you have the academic professional module. I will tell you about that later on. And next to that, you have your thesis and or your internship. So most Dutch students will immediately start their internship and will start their thesis from the 3rd period onwards. But for international students, this varies more strongly, because some students start with their internship right away, but others will do that later on in the year, so they will start with their thesis. So in that sense, it's also a bit flexible regarding your specific situation. So here you see the core courses. So we have effective mental health intervention for youth in the first period, and then spread out over the first and the second period is an introduction into cognitive behavioral therapy for youth. And in the second period, you have the opportunity to do an elective course. And if it suits your planning better, you can also do an elective course in the third period. So I will tell you something about first about the core courses, of course. So effective mental health intervention for youth. This course aims to increase your insight in the development of and the ways to prevent successfully treat psychopathology in children and adolescents. So this course really focuses on using your diagnostic information on a specific child to make a decision on what kind of treatment would be most suited for this particular client. So you will use your scientific knowledge on the effectiveness of interventions and combine that with information that you have on the specific client. So Fotis, what is your experience and what did you learn from this course?
Mm-hmm. So basically, we just finished with this course, and I feel that after having completed it, it really was about being able to inform your choice of intervention for a particular client with a said problem or more, based on the research that is done on this kind of problems and their effective interventions, and also be able to think of how you need to customize, let's say, the intervention so that it fits the needs of this specific client. So the course was based on had two parts. It was the lectures, where we were gaining general knowledge regarding a certain topic each week, and then we had also the work groups sessions, where it was more about having discussions with our fellow students and applying the knowledge that we got from the lectures and then seeing the different perspectives each person has around the same case, for example. So it was really helpful for me because it really helped me tie the theoretical information with how you practically apply them in a certain context.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think that is really the thing that we do in general. So really seek for the connection between all the theoretical knowledge that you already have and combine it with, case examples to really practice with. So how can I use this knowledge that I already have to make decisions for a particular client? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, thanks. So then the second core course is an introduction into cognitive behavioral therapy for youth. So the focus of this course is on providing an introduction to CBT for youth. And in the small group sessions, you will really practice with hands-on techniques. So really the techniques that belong to cognitive behavioral therapy, you will really practice them in the sessions. So what's your opinion about this course?
For me, I came knowing some things on theoretical level about CBT. This is a lot more hands-on, so we are working basically on a hypothetical case, and we are starting building the treatment plan to the first sessions of how we would actually do it as a CBT therapist, which is very interesting because it really provides you this simulation of how real life decisions would be like. And also we are practicing with the various CBT techniques during the workgroup sessions. So again, a lot practical knowledge and hands-on exposure to how things would be like.
Yeah. Nice, the exposure. Okay, so in the second period, we also have the opportunity for you to follow an elective course. So you can pick something that suits your focus area, and this can be like anything. So you can pick a course within our department, within the faculty, within the university, but also even outside the university. So you can do really whatever you would like. And I will tell you today something about the things that we offer within our department. So within our department, we have two options. So juvenile forensic psychopathology and interventions in diverse contexts, such as school. And another thing that I know that our students typically like is to do a course that is offered within the faculty, namely developmental neuropsychology. So juvenile forensic psychopathology is a course that focuses on gaining knowledge of and insights into the relationship between psychopathology, delinquent behavior, and recidivism. And you will focus on doing a risk assessment and provide treatment recommendations for a particular case. So again, the focus is on applying the knowledge that you gain from the literature to particular cases. And now with regard to delinquency and psychopathology. And then we have the course Interventions in Diverse Contexts. So this course is more on contextual factors that play a role in children's development and which interventions are available to intervene within these different social contexts. And what is nice about this course, I think, is that we have many school psychologists within our department who are part of this course. So Fotis, what elective course did you choose?
So there are many options, and I was between two. I was thinking of choosing a statistics course, but then I decided to go with a course named Anxiety and Related Disorders, as I felt like it is a topic that will come up during my professional life a lot. So I thought that maybe this would be good to know a bit more specific things.
Yeah, and I know from previous years that there were, for example, some international students who chose a course on methods and statistics because they knew, well, this is something that's a bit more difficult, or I feel a bit insecure, so maybe I could profit from that. But also a more content-related course is also really interesting, of course. So you can do whatever you would like. So then spread over the entire year, we have the academic professional module, and this is really a course on becoming an academic professional. And it includes topics like professional ethics and integrity, developing yourself as a developing your own professional identity. But we also have guest lectures on topics that we find relevant or are relevant in the field at that moment. And this year, for example, we have, amongst others, 2 guest lectures, one on suicide prevention and one on the movement against stigma. So Fotis, maybe you would like to tell us something about the academic professional module?
Yes, so far we've done the suicide prevention workshop, which was organized from the 113. It's the Dutch National Organization for Suicide Prevention. And we've also done the ethics symposium you mentioned earlier. For me, what is interesting so far about this course is that, again, I know I've been talking about it a lot, but that's really my point of view, that it provides you some kind of knowledge that you will not necessarily find in a book, because it's more hands-on. You hear about how people really deal with stuff like on the time that it's happening, on the here and now, regarding, for example, the suicide prevention. And also, for example, the ethics symposium gave us really a good opportunity to practice our presentations and also to think on matters like ethics that we tend to consider very important, but are not necessarily something that you will find in a handbook and that you will be tested on or something like that.
Yeah, right. Okay, thanks. So then the internship and the thesis. So first about the internships. Here you see Marije Groothuis, so our internship coordinator, as I mentioned before. And there are many possibilities with regard to the internship. What's important to mention is that students need to find their own internship. So you have to invest in that for yourself. But there are many options. So here you see different kinds of options. So we have options in clinical practice, such as mental health care institutions. Sometimes some offer more basic help, otherwise more specialized types of care, care for the disabled, intercultural mental health care institutions, or mental health offices within municipalities. Within hospitals, you have departments for psychiatry, but also departments that really focus on medical psychology. Within schools, you can also do your internship, so within primary or secondary education, special education, but also more advisory services that are related to schools. And then, of course, you have research or policy institutes, such as university, or the Trimbos Institute, for example, is a possibility. So you can do, I think quite a big variety of wide range of options. And there was a student who told me something about her internship, and I wanted to share that with you. She was doing her internship at the Department of Psychiatry in a hospital, and she said, well, it's inspiring to work with professionals in the field. I learn a lot on diagnostic assessment, and I do different types of assessment myself. I also write reports on these assessments, and I can also observe my supervisors during group treatments, and it's a really nice experience to actually work in clinical practice. And what's important to know is that internships differ a little bit with regard to what students can do. So sometimes the focus is more on diagnostics, and in other internships the focus is more on treatment or more research-related stuff. Well, here you see something about the size of the internship. So for Dutch students, an internship is 20 EC, whereas for international students, it's 15 EC. And this internship can be on research and policy, or a clinical internship in your home country. Because what's a bit difficult, of course, is that for a clinical internship in the Netherlands, international students have to speak Dutch, and this is typically not the case. So therefore, we advise to do this in your home country if you would like to do a clinical internship. And if you would like to do so, you're able to do your clinical internship in your home country in the somewhere in the 3rd and 4th period. So Fotos, tell us about your internship.
So I'm doing my internship in the International School of The Hague. I'm very happy about this opportunity. It is a research internship. So basically I'm doing a research. I'm doing various research projects in the school. I collect data, I analyze the results, and I at some point I will make some reports. For me, it's very nice because I get the chance to really see how a school psychologist works. Also, the research that you're doing in such a context is very different from the academic research because it's really tied to the needs of the school.
Of course.
So for me, it's kind of more meaningful, personally speaking, a lot more interesting, and it's much more organic because you really get the information all the time renewed from the practical aspect. Yes, basically. And maybe later on, I'm going to partake in some consulting sessions, but this is something that I'm not really sure for now. But yes.
Yeah, so there are a lot of options as well within this research. It sounds so research, but it's actually a bit more broad than just research.
And the everyday life really is much more than just sitting behind the computer and just like.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Okay, so here you see some of the thesis topics that we have within our department, and these thesis topics vary each year because they are closely related to the research that is done within our department. So, for example, we have topics on personality development, social cognition and aggression, interventions for children with mild intellectual disabilities, a teaching-focused coaching intervention, but also I expect some research on eco-friendly behavior in adolescents. So there will be thesis topics with regard to that as well. And of course, it's also possible to add an international or a cross-national, cross-cultural comparisons within these projects. So in the past years, we have joined or worked together with our international students and added some cross-national comparisons in our research as well. So I think that's also a really nice aspect of our international master's program, that we are sometimes broadening up our research as well, and that's, I think, of added value. It's also sometimes possible to combine your internship with your thesis. So in the past, there have been students who were doing their internship at an anorexia clinic and also conducted their thesis over there. And then you will also have a supervisor from the university, but also one within the institution. And something to mention maybe is that data collection is also part of a thesis project. So you will not just be writing a thesis, but also really conducting research. So what are you doing for your thesis?
Okay, so basically, I'm going to look at how early pubertal timing and depression predict future risky sexual behaviors during adolescence. And I'm quite excited because it is a topic that hasn't really been studied so far. So there are studies that are going for like how depression predicts early, no, not early pubertal time, how depression predicts sexual risky behaviors, but nothing really combining these three variables. So yeah, I hope it's going to be good, but
yeah, well, it sounds like an interesting topic, at least. Okay, so well, Fotis is here, so maybe it's nice to learn something about a typical week of a student. So Fotis, maybe you can tell us a bit about how your weeks in general look like.
So basically, I go to my internship twice or three times per week, usually twice. And we have courses for sure once per week, sometimes 2 days per week. And then the rest of the days are for working on the homework, on the assignments, studying, and also exploring a bit around the Netherlands, Utrecht.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, maybe it's good to mention that on Fridays we typically have classes for all students, but for international students we also have some additional classes on Mondays. So we've showed you that international students do the clinical skills lab next to their internship, and mostly the classes for that clinical skills lab are on Monday. And maybe you can also tell our viewers something about Utrecht, the city. How is it like?
It's a very beautiful city. Really, it's a small city. You can feel very comfortable in it very quickly. It has a lot of nice places to go out. It has a lot of things to do. People here are so active. So I really enjoy it so far.
And are there also downsides to studying in Utrecht?
I mean, everyone. I think that if you ask someone in general about the downside of the Netherlands, is the weather. I don't necessarily agree. I haven't had huge problems with the weather so far, but this is what I think most people would say.
Yeah. Maybe it still comes.
Yeah, maybe it's ahead of us. Like
yeah. Wait and see. So, how was it for you to come here to study? Did you have to get used to our Dutch educational system, for example?
Yeah, I think in general there is an adjustment period, and this adjustment also includes adjusting to a different way of teaching and of different way of working while you're in the program. And for me, it really helped me that I took a summer course before I started the program. So I got the chance to to see how the Dutch teach and their whole approach to, for example, teamwork, because in Greece we do have like team assignments, etc., but it's not really such a central theme as it is here, which was interesting, and it is interesting, but it took some time for me to get used to it. And definitely that 2 weeks of the summer course really helped me in that.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Well, here you see some career prospects, and I will go over it quickly because I think it's closely related to all the options you have for your internship. So you see many things listed here as well. And then something about the entry to the postmaster education in the Netherlands. So our program prepares you for the BPD, so the diagnostic registration for Dutch students, the clinical psychology professional study program, so the GZ-opleiding, school psychology, but also the child and adolescent psychologist registration. Here you see the admission requirements. So in principle, we ask for a bachelor's program in psychology or at least a major in psychology, although students from pedagogical sciences can also apply to our master's program. We have a focus on developmental or clinical child and adolescent psychology, or you need that to have that within your background. Knowledge of decision making and assessment, courses in methodology and statistics up until multivariate statistics. And we want to see something on your professional competencies. Then the admission deadline is the 1st of April in 2020. So that's good to know. If you have any questions, you can post them in the chat, of course, but also you can send us an email. So you can reach me using the email address masterccap@uu.nl. You can also ask Marije Groothuis if you have any questions with regard to the internship. And if you have questions on the admission, you can email the admissions office with the email address listed here. But you can also visit our website to look for a little bit more information. And here you see some of my colleagues, and we hope to welcome you in the future to our lovely city of Utrecht. And now we have some time left for some of the questions that you asked me. So I'm going to look at the screen here. So there's a question on the combination of the internship and the thesis, and I think I kind of already answered it. It is possible that those two are related to each other, but in most cases, students have an internship and then do their thesis within our department. So they pick one of the topics that I showed you before. And there's someone who asked, is it necessary to take Dutch lessons before arriving to Utrecht? So maybe that's one you can answer for us.
I mean, if you would like to, yes, but you wouldn't necessarily need it for your staying and studying here. If you want to stay after your studies, I think it would be a good idea, and I plan to do it after Christmas, but it's not really something that you should do or that you would need to do.
No, I agree. No. So it's more, if you like it, you can, but it's not necessary to do.
And everyone speaks English anyway, like everywhere, so.
Yeah, true. Someone asks about the elective courses, whether there are also courses from other psychology masters. Yes, I think Fotis is going to do an elective course from clinical psychology, but all other departments are offering courses as well. Yeah, but I just wanted to mention the things that we offer because I know those courses and I'm not really into all the other options. Then there's one question whether it's possible to do our master's program in 2 years. We are a 1-year program, so I would have to say no, because we just are a 1-year program. Yeah. And then there is a question on well, it's a quite difficult question to answer, but I will try to answer it. I would like to know in what way this master's program differs from other universities in the Netherlands. So I think there are some specifics about our program, and it also relates to maybe the difference between our program and clinical child, family, and education studies. So I think our program is really founded within the tradition of psychology. We are a program that focuses on applying scientific knowledge to clinical practice. So I think that is really something that we do quite strongly. And whereas other programs in the Netherlands, so clinical child and adolescent psychology programs, sometimes have a bit more basic diagnostics within their program, our program really focuses on using the diagnostic information to inform your treatment. So we're not really focusing on diagnostics anymore. So if you have, if you didn't have that within your bachelor's program, you will have to catch up or do, for example, the summer school that we've been talking about, because this holds mostly for international students. So we start with a summer school before the master program starts, and there we make sure that any gaps with regard to your knowledge are with regard to the entry requirements are solved before the program starts. So maybe you can share a little bit about that summer school. So
Yeah.
what did you think of that?
So I took, the course name was Developmental Psychopathology and Assessment in Youth. For me, it was really a very good opportunity. Although in the beginning I did doubt it because I was like, okay, why is it needed necessarily? But I at that point I hadn't opened the psychology book for more than 2 years, so it was really something that got me back in track. It really was very helpful for me to understand how I am going to be working in this context. And I think that if I didn't have this chance, it would be too rough for me to just be thrown into the masters and in a totally different way of working and being taught on any topic to what I was used to before. And also it was a very good opportunity because I got to meet all the other international students. It really provided me with a frame of reference, people that I feel comfortable with, because okay, coming to a different country, like all these parameters may not be necessarily like what is considered to be important, but really your adjustment into a group and feeling part of a group, for me, it was a very helpful thing in general.
Yeah, so it's actually served multiple goals.
Right, and also really it helped me learn things about assessment that, okay, maybe I thought I knew, I don't know, but I didn't know them for sure. So it was really needed. I do feel that.
Okay, thanks. So there was another question about how many days a week will you take classes? So for Dutch students, this is 1 day a week, so only on Fridays. And for international students, it's Fridays and sometimes on Monday, but it's not, this is I think once a month or something, and not every week. Another question is on, do you need to have an internship before you apply for the master's program? And no, you don't need that. Preferably you have one before you start the master program, but if not, you can also start with the thesis first, and then after you've found an internship, you can start your internship later on. So I think that we are quite flexible in that. So let me see what other questions are still available. So there's a question about what the opportunities are for a master's graduate to go about enrolling for a PhD. So I know of one student last year who started their PhD right after finishing her master's program. So it is possible, but it depends a little bit on the opportunities and whether they fit your CV, for example. But it is possible. Yeah. Another question, do most people go on into earning a PhD? Well, some are, but I think most of them aren't, because if you are already planning to do a PhD, then there are also research master program, and those programs prepare you more specifically for a PhD. So that's a bit of a different trajectory, I guess, but it is possible to do so. Well, the bachelor's psychology that I follow does not offer a specific specialization on child and adolescent psychology. Would this be a problem for the admission? We do ask for a specialization in child and adolescent psychology. It is possible to still enroll for some of the courses that we offer in our bachelor's program in the 3rd and the 4th period. So you can try to enroll for those courses and prepare you in such a way for the master's program. And maybe the summer school would be a possibility as well, but I'm not sure about that, because in the previous year we only organized this summer school for international students. But if you are really motivated for our program, then maybe we can make some adjustments or exceptions for you. Yeah. So you only have to be at the university once a week, but we have classes only once a week, and for sometimes you have assignments and have to work together and have to come there for an extra time, or a meeting with your thesis supervisor. But the Dutch students have an internships for 2 or 3 days a week. So at those days, they don't come to the university. So in principle, it is 1 day a week, but sometimes you have to come a little bit extra. Yeah, in what way is our program different from orthopedagogiek? For example, the focus of the program, opportunity to attain diagnostic certificate and career perspective. I think that those are really closely related, and in the field you see that positions are often filled by either a clinical child and adolescent psychologist or an orthopedagogue. And I think that maybe the difference in our program is that our focus is also on really thinking about your own position with regard to a particular topic. So really critical thinking on issues that are relevant in the field, while taking multiple perspectives into account. So maybe that's one of the differences between our program and orthopedagogiek. But I think in general, the programs are related to each other. To be licensed back at home, I need to have a doctorate in psychology. Is there an equivalent here, or is it only master and PhD? Yeah, we only have a master's program or PhD. Yeah. Okay. Let me see whether there are still other questions. I think that we answered most of the questions already. So to apply, you do need preferably a bachelor in psychology, or at least a major in psychology, or a master in orthopedic, or a bachelor in orthopedagogiek. So I think that we are finished with our webinar and also with all the questions. So I would like to thank all the participants for joining today's session. You will receive a follow-up email after this meeting. And if you have any questions, please look at the email addresses that I provided before, and we are more than willing to answer your questions. So thanks for joining us today.